Hey, okay, and welcome back to this little episode, this third episode in this series of me trying out Qwen 3.8. So yesterday I tried to use Qwen 3.8 in no thinking mode, and it worked quite well. I had switched to oMLX as an inference engine, and it went quite far, but unfortunately I ran into an out of memory issue with oMLX, and so I had to stop on this one, and I fixed this overnight. So what I did is I asked ChatGPT to help me improve the setup, and we found some settings, or ChatGPT found some settings that helped me reduce the memory usage. So now for my Qwen 3.8 setup, I am using TurboQuant to quantize the KV cache to reduce pressure on memory. And that actually helped. And I had also updated to 0.6.1 in the morning. And I restarted the process, and I ran into another issue. And this time it was a known bug that was supposedly fixed this morning. So it wasn't available via brew. So I took the advice from ChatGPT and just fixed the one-liner. I patched it locally in my machine, and that seemed to have helped. So this worked, and I can tell that finally my agent has finished working. So just to recap, that is the instruct model, the version without any reasoning. So the idea was to get the results faster, and it was working for, I don't know, still like 2 hours on this task in total. And it worked quite nice, even though there was no reasoning enabled. So it wrote a lot of code, had to fix some problems. Yeah, I would assume that many of the problems it would not have run into if it was using reasoning mode. But we still got a result in the end. And so this is the to-do research plan that it had finished. And it did use the debugging tools, so used Puppeteer or some off-screen browser to actually query what it did, and used the multimodal capabilities. So this is actually using images to check the results, and this worked out quite nicely in the end, and there were no exceptions anymore on the server. So let's check out the results. This is the application that it created. It shows the chart, so it has custom node visualizations. No, not really custom, but it uses the data to render those icons. I gave it the icons, and it had to associate the items with the data. It also chose the labels and wrote the code to associate the labels, and came up with the layout, with the choice of layout. Unfortunately, it doesn't use the Y-files built-in layout animations. So when I start this application, you see that there's a mixture of two animations running, but in the end, unfortunately, the viewport isn't configured correctly because it's not using the Y-files viewport animations. It would have probably taken me another prompt to fix this one. But either way, it added some interactivity so that we see some stats which are dynamically calculated from the data. And there should be a tooltip in here. I saw in the code that it wrote tooltips. Let's check the actual implementation. So there, it actually wrote some interaction code in here. And you can see there it's populating a context menu. And I also saw, yeah, this is where it tries to query the tooltip. And I guess there's a bug in this build tooltip content, because I saw that there's an exception coming. So it wasn't able to test this because for some reason it failed using Puppeteer with the hovering. I guess it just didn't wait long enough for the tooltips to appear. There's actually something happening on the console when I hover over these elements. So it's almost done. So we should have seen some tooltips, but we see that there is actually a context menu. So hitting right click, this triggers the context menu. and there's a command, zoom to the person, double click, I believe also, yeah, zooms it. There's no animation either, unfortunately. Could have used the Wi-Fi's animations for this. And there's another feature in there, which is copy email, which means that you can copy this to your clipboard, which is, yeah, nice, useful interaction. And it also tried working on the collapse operation, but that for somehow didn't work. I did not check why this isn't working. So there's some interactivity that it planned for, but it didn't really work. It thinks that there's an collapsed or expanded subtree, and it obviously recreates those elements, but yeah, that's a little broken. I think we'll have to improve our skills here a little. We do provide skills to the agents, and I have the feeling that the non-reasoning version of Qwen didn't read the skills properly, or didn't understand them. Maybe that's also the case. Yeah, so summing this up, I think in a way it was a success in the way that I got 3.8 running and without reasoning. This experiment was completely with reasoning disabled, and it wasn't much faster. It still took 2 hours, considering that it had to like re-evaluate the prompts after it crashed because of the misconfiguration or the bugs in oMLX. That's okay, I'd say. But still, if we compare that to the result that we got the last time using GPT 5.6 Luna for 35 cents in a minute, I got a much more pleasing result, I'd say. But, well, again, this is on a local model. And if you have those requirements, or time is not much of an issue, you can easily run these, and with proper tools and skills and MCP tools, even a model that has no or little knowledge about a complicated library, it will be able to come up with a nice result. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Next up would be for me to test this again, but this time with a lower reasoning setup. So stay tuned. Goodbye.